Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, a very special Coach's Corner here with DJ Yoakley on ysnlive.com. A guy that we are very familiar with, a guy that we know, we love, that has been around the block and has helped everywhere he has gone, is adding one more stop to his journey here, at least for the foreseeable future. Ladies and gentlemen, a friend of the program, very, very close friend of mine, a four-star general if you'd ever ask me. Ladies and gentlemen, the brand new, as of today, athletic director at Warren G. Harding, Mr. Rick Shepas. Shep, congratulations, my friend.
Thank you, DJ.
Talk to me about, it's great to be, always great to be with you.
Yeah.
For you, you have so many great places, so many great stops on your list of train stations and stops that you've made along the way. Warren G. Harding comes along and says, hey, we want you to help what we're doing here. First and foremost, what spoke to you and why is this the right spot at the right time?
Well, I think, when you look at what Steve Shiro is doing with the school district, you pay attention to the commercials that are running on TV, the brand new buildings, the way the buildings are kept, the pride that the community has in their traditions over at Warren Harding. I think they're in a great place to do some special things. They're about to open a new center. It's going to be a tremendous opportunity not only to bring STEM programming in, but it's going to give the community a new identity. Obviously, very rich sports tradition. There's going to be the opportunity to build some unique programs out there, and I thought that I could be a value add in this circumstance, and I just believe in what they have going over there. And after spending the day yesterday, getting introduced to the administrative team over there and the people that they have within the mechanism, I thought, boy, Steve really has done a great job. They're buttoned up over there. They're very warm people. They're kids first people. Every decision is based off of what they're doing, to serve their young people in the community. That's what I've always been about from day one in my career.
Yeah.
I've always kept that focus because let's face it, the fact that kids go to school and they need to be educated, that gives me an opportunity to teach and be a part of the administrative chain. The fact that kids love sports and want to be active in the extracurricular and co-curricular aspects of things, that gives me an opportunity to coach. And I've always kept that in the back of my mind. And, being student first has been a driver for me, and I'll continue to do that over at Warren and hope to move the needle and have an impact there.
I think one of the biggest things that I love about you is you always say, I'm kids first. I'm students first. From that aspect, we look at, and you mentioned the rich traditions that they have athletically at Warren G. Harding. Mm-hmm. It has been, I don't want to say slow, but it hasn't been up to their standards. Mike Tomlin always says the standard is the standard. For you, what are you looking forward to most about looking to return the Raiders to the glory of yesterday?
Well, I think with anything, you go back to the fundamentals of how you build a program. And I've had a specific strategy that I've used everywhere that I've been. I think it's a strategy that works. It definitely works for me. It starts with a top-down philosophy where you put the right coaches in place at the top of the food chain with those varsity sports. I had the opportunity to meet their aquatics director yesterday. Clearly embodied that concept of you have a guy that's a G at the top of the food chain in the aquatics department. They've got that great pool facility. He's got a strong college background of placing people in the Olympic trials and even in the Olympics.
Yeah.
He's over there, running the aquatics and swim program there. And you think about how we're going to feed that program, and COVID kind of knocked a lot of things out of the box and really changed the way they're doing some things. But we're going to go back to that third and fourth grade swim program and start funneling kids throughout the program. They're exposing them to the pool. A lot of athletes out in that area, and just gives you an idea of the type of people that are in the district already that are doing the right things. Now they'll get support from me, and I'll go in and I'll assist in how those kids get funneled through and get opportunities in that pool, to be exposed to it and to get better. Same thing with the track program. They have great track history. They should always have great track history.
Mm-hmm.
So with Maslin, when I went there, that was one of my number one goals. I wanted to have a great football team. I wanted to be the best conditioned football team. But I also wanted to win the 100 and the 4x1 during the spring season in track, right? Speed is essential to every sport, explosiveness and things of that nature. They got a great track program. that I think we're going to be able to build upon as well with a great track coach there. So I really feel good about Matt Richardson and the coaching staff that he's put together in place in the football program. And there's great things. There's good basketball there, and I just want to provide the supports and some of the new strategies that I think are going to take us into the 2030s here coming up, which you're going to be a big part of out here, and even out here at athletics. I think these are going to be big parts of it. And when I look at the center that they're building and the influence that I'll be able to contribute to there,
yeah,
I just get excited about the opportunities. It's a really neat thing.
Well, I think that's another interesting point of all of this is kind of when you have athletic, and this is different. We have 72 schools right now. It's different every single school. Some athletic directors get marching orders. Some athletic directors are leaders in the community, or they get carte blanche on what they're able to do. Have you got a kind of idea of what you're going to be able to get within the school, within the community, of how you're going to be able to lead? Because I'm sure it's been different for you everywhere you've gone as well.
Yeah, and that's a very true statement. I mean, every place has a different identity. And I can tell you this, anytime I've been in Warren, for any event prior to this opportunity, that I'm about to take part in, but there's support there. There's a desire to want to bring the traditions back, right? Recreate the standard, right? Live up to that standard and build it the right way. I think with the supports and with the team of administrators that Mr. Shiro has in place out there, I have no doubt, even in sitting with people for a short time, where their commitments are, and what they're trying to, how they're trying to affect kids in such a positive way out there. So I feel great about everybody that matters in that food chain. Mr. Lacey does a great job, in the facility management end. I was down in the maintenance, with the maintenance people, very impressed, by what they're able to get done as a school district in and of itself. Steve's done a great job with managing the district from a financial standpoint. And even some of the meetings I sat in on yesterday, I was really impressed with the fiscal responsibility and the mindfulness, even when they're taking trips, when they're taking their administrators on trips, how they want to, work within the budget, but still do it wisely, to maintain that fiscal responsibility and that management. So very impressive, very impressed with what's going on so far. Very warm and welcoming environment, that I experienced yesterday. I'm sure today will be no different, and then we'll start moving the needle forward.
I'm really interested because we all know that in order to move forward, you have to rebuild the past or restore the past. There are a lot of prominent names that have walked the hallways of Warren G. Harding High School that have played on the football surface, the basketball surface, baseball, track. You mentioned a lot of them. How are you looking to not necessarily repair the relationships that Warren G. Harding has had and build that bridge to the future, but how are you looking to kind of inject that past, that history that we talk about, the rich tradition of winning and championships and putting out unbelievable athletic products into the next generation of these kids? You talked about fourth graders getting back into the pool. Are you going to kind of be that bridge from the past to the future?
I don't think there's any question. That's one of the things, that I did in Youngstown City, which I think is very important. At one time in Youngstown City, there were 6 high schools, very proud high schools in Youngstown City. On the north, south, and west side of town, sure. Right? East side of town. So, part of it is maintaining a process of educating these young people in regard to their identity and their background. Nothing was more evident, that when we added, brought back the Golden Bear,
sure.
Because East became the Panthers for about 10 years when they combined the schools into one. The Panthers, they were great. They had great athletes. They had good coaches, but I don't think they had the identification, to the old. Huge for us, bringing the Golden Bear logo back. I can't tell you what it meant to the alumni. When you think of East High School right in Youngstown, people don't realize it's almost like Jerusalem, where humanity started and then branched out from there. Well, in Youngstown, right, anybody who was anybody came from the east side of Youngstown, and bringing that Golden Bear back and identifying with some of those traditions was significant. And then obviously with the tradition that Cheney has had, which you could argue, it has been second to none. Bringing them back and that identification with the kids and who they represent is important. No, so I'm sure that the coaches are doing those things, and the programs that are currently doing well in Warren, they're identifying with their past. You have to embrace your past as you move towards the future, to maintain, that standard that we're talking about. However, I'll say this: the fabric is what's special about the community of Warren. And when you see generations of families that are raising these young babies in through the school district, you can see how important it is to them. And I know Warren is going to be very similar, even in my conversations, yesterday, and things that I know from the past. But that's one of the things I recognized at Massillon when I was there. When you go into the community and the women know their football, and the women know their history, and they know they're great players, they know they're great coaches in all of the sports. That to me is when you cross over a threshold of significance in what's important in the district. And those are the things that we want to identify with. Those are the things we want to continue to move forward. And nothing happens overnight. So we want to go in. We have the coaches at the top of the food chain. Now it's going to be about how we build the youth programs and the things that are going to feed them, to be able to coach these kids in the future.
One of the things I absolutely adore, love, and wish I had this gene in my body is the fact that you have an approach, and you're not going to go in and get in a bunch of people's faces and tell them how it is. You have a velvet hammer approach, which is, soft but absolutely firm when it comes down. Like I said, you're not going to raise your voice. You're going to explain to them, hey, this is why we do what we do, and you show them the long game of where you want to get to. For you, how much of that hammer has to come down from a standpoint of, hey, we need to bring this back? Because, not just Warren G. Harding, but also many schools in this area have had a flooding problem of kids leaving the district for greener pastures.
Yeah.
How do you not only plug the holes, but also fill the boat back up again?
Yeah, I just think it's simple. It's about what you're doing within your program and the resources that you have within it to be who you are. Right. And then people need to either embrace that, or if they think that there's a better opportunity for them out there, then they need to go seek out and find that. But the accountabilities on how you run your program is where the focus should be. Right. So if we're buttoned up and we're doing the very best that we can for our kids in the development, in their, in the mental processes as well. Right. Now the training process and then the nutrition process. I had a chance to be with the ladies in food service. Right. That's where all the love is coming into the kids at all the schools.
Sure.
Right? And I was thoroughly impressed that there's an active kitchen, a live kitchen in each school, because I thought it was amazing that Youngstown City had a tremendous food service industry, and it almost like out at Fresh Lake or out at Mom's Meals out there where they're packaging, hundreds of meals. You got a district of 5,000 and you're feeding all these kids. And a lot of the elementary school meals were coming, out of Chauvin downtown, and then they were shipped out warmed and then served to the kids, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, prepackaged.
Right.
But I think we had 3 live kitchens in the city of Youngstown when I was there. But in Warren, every school has a live kitchen, which means you're getting extra TLC, you're getting extra calories, extra loving, Mr. Shiros found a way to feed the kids an extra meal, extra snacks, but that's where those calories are going to come from. That's where you sit down, you have a meal, you have those conversations. And that's why I think education is, the key component to education in the co-curricular is the coaching space where those great conversations take place, where you're waiting for a ride home and you're sitting down with your coaches and we're getting to know people. I've done a lot of home visits in the past with my players. I want to know the homes that they're coming from. I want to see what they're dealing with. I want to know, what's going on, so that when I have to affect them either positively or negatively, for that matter, at least I know what's going on. And they know that we care. You've always heard that, but there's a fundamental way to do that, and there's a get to know you process. And for me, I always have this, I've always had this physical presence, the broad shoulders, the haircut and everything with the shaved head for proud to say I haven't paid for a haircut since 1993. It's a great thing. But
there goes our sponsorship with Great Clips.
I have that, right? Yeah, absolutely, right. But the other thing is, when you have that, you don't want to not be approachable to people, and that's where the softness and the support comes in. As I build relationships with administrators, remember, in the athletic department, we serve the building principals. Each and every one of them. I'll be happy to serve the building principals and the supports that we provide, seeking out the very best people at work, with their kids in the after-school programs, without a doubt. We'll be serving, the coaches and the teachers as well, providing the tools that they're going to need to get a job done and help assist them to make it easier and better and support them in the classroom. I mean, teachers need support. They need that support of the coaches, because if the teachers don't have the time to get through the kids, the way we raise those kids and what we expect out of them, which always has to start in the classroom, right? And I know this, the perspective that I bring to the table is, first thing I'm doing as a college recruiter is coming in, I'm going right to the guidance office. I want to see grades, I want to see attendance, I want to see how important school is to these kids. And that's, we'll begin fundamentally on all those things.
Yeah, culture is a buzzword, right? It can be a buzzword, or it can be something that a school community believes in. Mm-hmm. You mentioned a lot of things. What's the number one thing that you want people to know that the culture is going to be when they walk through the doors of Warren G. Harding starting this fall?
Yeah, I think you're going to see a well-disciplined group of athletes come out of that athletic department, and I think that's going to have a great impact on the school. Better leadership in the school means the school runs better, for all the principals and the rest of the student population. You'd be surprised the esports population out in Warren, right? They're getting more people involved in esports. There's going to be an opportunity with the new center they're building, not to be a great athletic facility, but it's also going to have opportunities for STEM classes and maybe robotics and some additive manufacturing education taking place there. There's places to study, places to get away, provide a different environment to create different stimulus for the kids. So, you're going to see discipline, you're going to see an understanding, a respect for sport, a respect for other athletes, and all those other things as we carry ourselves with that fabric that I'm talking about that speaks of the tradition that the community has in their athletic programs.
I think it's incredible that what you've been able to do at schools of all sizes, at districts and communities of all sizes. Warren G. Harding, one of the biggest, one of the largest we have in this area, with, I would say, undoubtedly some of the most diverse situations when you talk about culture and race, religion, all that stuff built into one school, one district. For you, how challenging is it wherever you've gone and talk about like the small school culture to the bigger school culture of getting kids to play multiple sports and represent their school? Because it seems like everywhere you go, you get kids to come and follow your trail. How important is it going to be for you to get those kids to do the same thing when you're talking about Warren G. Harding?
Well, it comes down to the athletes and the egos of the coaches, and the coaches being willing to share the athletes, number one, which we all know that we need to share athletes. I came from that opportunity when I started out as a young head coach at Poland. We needed to share athletes. We needed to share athletes without any coaches feeling either paranoid or nervous that any one of those coaches was going to try to force a kid not to play another sport, right? Because we're the adults. Yeah. We're the adults that create the culture, provide the culture, and then we disseminate that to the kids, right? We don't want the kids to feel pressure. We want them to enjoy their experience. Let's face it. That's why in ancient Greek culture they created athletics in the first place. For the virtues that you develop by just competing to be your best. Yep. And to do your best, but with an air of sportsmanship and a mindfulness of what this is doing for you. So we were able to get that done simply by, engaging the kids together and utilizing all of our coaching staffs together so that everybody was around the kids at all time. So it dispelled any rumor that any coach, would try to get kids to focus just on only one or two sports.
Sure.
The coaches didn't have to worry about that anymore. And everybody was involved in the mechanism, in the weight room, in the off-season programs. When we went into the football off-season, we had baseball coaches, right? In both, and we ran a couple sessions in the after school program. We sent the linemen home to eat more in the intermediates, right?
Naturally.
And we set up 2 sessions, but we had baseball and track coaches in the football weight room with the kids at their particular expertise. So we split the staffs in half. We had more adults around the kids, which is essential because when you're talking about culture and you're talking about having those relationships, right? You need access to the kids, right? So before baseball, preseason conditioning would begin in February. Typically, pitchers and catchers, right in that third week of February, right? They were already with the kids. They were with them after the 30-day no contact period. So, depending on where your season ends, which hopefully you think you're making a long run, it's later. But in any case, in this particular case, from a mid-December on, everybody had access to the kids. Everybody had conversations with the kids. And because I was evaluating them on competition, I'd be the first one to tell you that I was evaluating them when they were in their other sports. So I love the fact that they were playing basketball because when I'm going to a game, I'm not just there to support. I'm evaluating them and I'm envisioning where they're going to play for me on the field. When I go watch a baseball game, the same. There's those intense moments in tournament play and championship play where those special athletes come and they rise up to those challenges. Cream rises to the top. Same thing in a track meet. How you finish an event, whether you're winning the event, you're winning the 100-meter or 200-meter dash, how you finish through the line, or if you're getting beat, how you might pull up at the end of the line. Those are things that I'm looking at in the character of the athlete. So as a high school coach, breeding that mindset in finishing.
Yeah.
Finishing, and it's about the way you compete, right? And as a college recruiter, I want to make sure that kid knows that finishing is most important, and the way they react. I remember Joe Flask at Western Reserve.
Yeah.
Great athlete. In my opinion, it's sad that he didn't have a great career at Youngstown State because I think he was overlooked, right? At the regional track meet out at Springfield Local, though, he was facing that young man from Warren JFK that was a national qualifier, right? But Joe ran one of those great races, where, literally it was a freeze frame finish, and Joe lost that race, but he was right there with a national qualifier. And at his size, 6'5", rangy kid.
Yeah.
But when he finished the race, he was so upset emotionally that he didn't win. He's like ripping his shirt off and he's walking behind. And I'm recruiting. I'm a college recruiter at that point. So I follow him back underneath the bleachers. And I tell him, I said, "Hey, buddy, you're a great athlete. You just ran a phenomenal race here, right? You have no reason to hang your head. You're running against a national qualifier. You're right there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Freeze frame away from winning, right? So your reaction is going to be significant to the people that are recruiting you. That's how deep and that's how analytical, people are out there looking to improve their locker rooms with better players.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's all part of your culture, all the part of the way you want to focus on what your program is doing. And I know this, it takes a village in everybody's community to have special culture in their programs, right? And we can all identify the consistency and where it's happening most often, even in our own area here. But I'm sure that in those places, they're focused on what they do. They're not worried about anything that other people are doing because they know what's best for their community, their athletes, their kids. And, that's what, early on in this new tenure for me here in Warren, that's what I want to get involved in. I want to understand that. I want to understand all the things that are important, as we build this thing and how we're going to do this the Warren way, and move forward together on that with all of our coaches.
What's interesting is you talk about the Warren way, you talk about how things have changed over the last decade or longer. Warren, and you and I have talked about this at length, Warren's one of the only teams we have in this valley that isn't represented by YSN in the coverage that we bring. Right. Selfishly, for me, when you look at what they have a lot of people doing a lot of great things for coverage inside the district.
Right.
They haven't been necessarily represented outside of the district because of what we do for our communities and the schools that we represent. The industry of paper has declined, obviously. The TV stations, can't be everywhere. For you to get your kids the proper coverage, what's your game plan moving forward of how to take what Warren does best, what I think that they do as well as most schools, if not better, within their four walls, and magnifying that and going 10x like you usually do to make sure they get coverage?
Yeah, I mean, there's never been more resources at this time ever in history, to do all those things to promote kids. And you see some of the great college coaches who are doing it, where there's a huge social media presence, even at practices, with the great things that are going on there, because you're talking about getting exposure for your kids. And, when I look at it, when I have a chance to talk to Mr. Shiro, even over the last couple of days, we talk about, the great things that are going on, in Warren City Schools, the great commercials they've produced, right, that are going to make that place a destination location, just with the academic offerings alone that they're offering, let alone the sports opportunities, right, with this new center that's going to create, for us. But again, it comes back to the exposure, the social media presence, the expanse of how you can recognize your kids, utilizing the skill sets that they already currently have within the school district and what they are producing, but just adding resources and venues where we can expand that reach, expand that social media presence. As I think you'll see a big emphasis, for us as we get on track with this thing, and we want our kids to be recognized with as many awards as possible. There's always been great athletes in Warren. Recognition is important for kids. Not having a very solid league affiliation, the way things are, have been going for the All-America Conference, right? Those are things that we'll look at closely, and that's why YSN could be really important to us out in Warren as we try to gain exposure for our kids. All-star games, different presence. You just had the softball game last night, and we want kids to be a part of those things.
Shep, I can't thank you enough, as always, coming in, talking to us and letting us know kind of what's going on. Congratulations on the new gig, man. I know you're going to do awesome in it.
Yeah, thanks. I feel good about it. I feel good about the people there, and I feel good about the support that they're going to have. There's some great boosters, out there that are going to make a difference, and I think opportunities are going to be right in line for us in Warren. So,
best of luck to you, my friend.
Thank you so much.